Since the mid-2010s, Volvo cars have improved in every aspect, from design to performance and driving experience. Starting with the introduction of a new infotainment system called Sensors and eventually leading up to the current Android-based system. However, as someone who is interested in user interfaces, I can't help but feel that the UI is becoming more and more disconnected from reality. I also wonder why the design is so simple that it almost looks like there was no effort put into it. Therefore, in this article, I want to compare current Volvo models with past models and criticize some of the problems with the current Volvo cars. The handle attached to the driver's side filler, how often do you really use that? In previous generation Volvo models, some came with a sunglasses case attached. However, in the latest models, they have all been replaced with handles. Although a separate accessory is available for purchase and the price is relatively affordable, it's frustrating that they created a useless storage space and later removed it for cost-cutting purposes. It would have been better if they add the sunglasses case instead added the unnecessary storage space in the first place. Do you know any other brands besides Volvo that have placed buttons on the edge of the key? I could barely find any such brand no matter how much I searched it. Why is that? Maybe because it doesn't feel good to hold and press a button in the hand. In addition, the buttons of the Volvo Smart Key do not have a clean clicking feel and the buttons themselves are shaky, so they sometimes make noise when shaken. When it was first released, the car key came with a leather case that matched the interior code. It seemed like an idea to enhance the luxury image, which I can understand. However, now all the cases are made of plastic. The previous generation of Volvo car keys had basic functions such as locking and unlocking the car doors, a button for the car's location at night, a trunk button, and a panic button. Additionally, the function that lets you know whether the car is locked or not was quite useful. I don't want to go into the operational logic, but in most cases, you could even confirm whether the car was locked or not while flying over the Pacific Ocean on a flight to the United States, and the car was parked at the airport. But most importantly, it was easy to press the buttons. The unlock button is slightly recessed, so you can feel it with your hand. So even in your pocket, you could easily check and press the button without having to take out the key out of your pocket. Although the design of the old key was simple, it was functional in this way. But the current key design tries to show off a sophisticated appearance rather than incorporating the function of the old key. And that's why I'm really dissatisfied. They even released a wooden case that could look more luxurious for $300, but the result was that the product was discontinued. Some may argue that since the smart entry function can handle locking, unlocking, and starting the car, the button's operation may not be that important. However, for those who often struggle to remember where they parked their car, the panic buttons during the day and the unlock button with welcome lighting function in the evening can be very useful. Although the design of the key for the new EX90 has not been released yet, there is more anxiety than anticipation about what type of key will be adopted. The key may still have the same case with only the internal electronic module being updated, or it may even become a fully redesigned key. It is unknown why the key has not been released yet, especially since the car itself has been extensively shown. Even for the platform-mate accessory, there is no information available about the key either. However, it is known that the ultra-wideband feature will be included when the driver is approaching and activate the welcome features such as the door handles coming out and unlock the car. The biggest advantage of a digital display is the ability to create limitless designs through unstructured screens and to produce multiple screen displays. This advantage was similar to what Mr. Jobs talked about when the iPhone was first introduced.
A giant screen.
However, Volvo seems to be one of the top automakers that fails to utilize the advantage of a digital display. In the second generation sensors, there were a total of 4 expression modes. It was so monotonous that I thought they just slightly changed the color without much though. On the other hand, the first generation sensors display had a clear personality for each mode, and especially the power gauge and eco gauge were intuitive to understand. However, the design of the Android dashboard is like this. The design has changed slightly since it was first introduced a year ago. In the older version, when you displayed the navigation screen, there was a screen effect that accompanied it. However, in the newer version, it just comes in and out without any effect. Do you think the updated version looks more like an improved version than before? The only improvement that is actually felt is that the close button on the trip window has been reconfigured. Speed, RPM, clock, outside temperature, fuel level, and total mileage are the most basic informations. However, the clock is not visible. The clock, which was displayed in both Sensor's first generation and second generation, is only displayed on the center screen in Android, and not even on the driver side, but in the upper corner of the passenger side with a thin and small font that is hard to see. The accumulated mileage is also not always displayed. In Census, you could choose in detail the information that would be fixedly displayed on the screen. Similarly, in Android, you can also choose in settings, but only between TM and TA, and accumulated mileage is excluded from the options. So, to see this value, you have to open the trip information window. Why did they separate it like this? Did they intentionally make the overall dashboard simple? If so, then there was no need for setting that allows you to choose between TM and TA. All trip information could just be displayed in one window. The autonomous driving icon is too small. Compared to the previous models, have sensors where it was visible and clear. It is too small now. This is also for HUD. The large green handle indicating the lane recognition was easy to see, but in Android, it is represented by an orange color tone along with a time gap display line, which is also a bit of a concern. As someone with presbyopia, it is difficult to distinguish whether it is 2 or 3 bars or whether it is 3 or 4 bars since it looks ambiguous. I understand it seems that the current design of the instrument panel with a small distance setting is not user-friendly for drivers who prefer different level of time gaps with the vehicle in front and who may need to adjust the setting frequently to adapt to changing traffic conditions. It is possible that the designer did not have enough experience driving a car in real-world situations, which could have led to this less than optimal design. It is unfortunate that there doesn't seem to be a deeper consideration for user convenience in the design. When passing through narrow spaces, if the vehicle's side sensor is activated, the screen changes to the around view. In the old sensors, the sensor image was displayed on the entire screen, but in Android, it appears on a 360-degree camera. It would be better to just show the sensor in a pop-up window instead of filling the entire screen, and it causes problems sometimes when searching for a destination during a brief stop or when a motorcycle passes by on the side, the search is constantly interrupted. If you try to turn it off, you have to press the home button, which takes you to the background, and the navigation screen you are looking at is closed. To avoid interference, the gear position should be in park from the beginning. It is not always desirable for the camera to turn on automatically because of the side sensors. Therefore, it would be good to add an automatic camera on and off setting. After all, a button has already been added to the home screen for easy access to the camera. And when entering a crossroad or leaving a parking lot where the view is blocked, the 180-degree front camera view is surprisingly useful. To use it, you can press camera icon, which displays the last direction you looked at. The problem is that the camera works regardless of the current gear position. If you reverse, the rear-facing camera defaults to the display, which is also neutral. There are also some legal regulations that apply. Now that you have finished the parking and have gone out to do something, when you return to the car and turn on the camera, the rear-facing camera appears. To switch to the forward-facing camera, you must first switch to the 360-degree view and then press the forward-facing symbol. In this way, the automatic camera integration setting is not practical for actual use. There are some complaints mixed with disappointment. There are other car manufacturers that offer both a rear view camera and a 360-degree view together. And people wish Volvo had the same feature. However, Volvo's interface and operating logic do not even empathize with the user's actual operating environment.
BMW.
In the previous system, the left button controlled the adaptive cruise control, while the right button allowed the driver to select semi-autonomous driving, including steering assistance. However, with the transition to Android, a default setting for the start button was added to the menu. If checked, the car immediately enters semi-autonomous driving mode upon startup, which means that only semi-autonomous driving is possible. If you need to switch to adaptive cruise control mode in the middle of driving, you have to turn off the default setting, which then only allows for adaptive cruise control. You can't switch functions using the left-right buttons like in the sensor system. However, these buttons are still sitting there in their important position without being assigned any functions. Some people may think, why would I need to use only the adaptive cruise control feature when the semi-autonomous driving function that also provides steering assistance is more convenient? However, depending on the driver's driving habits and road conditions, the optimal driving line may not always be the same. As you can see, some drivers tend to stick to the left, some drive in the center, the others tend to stick to the right. Therefore, Volvo's driving line may not satisfy everyone. In addition, on highways, the right lane is often used by large vehicles, which can cause some drivers to feel slightly intimidated. And fundamentally, because it is camera-based steering assist system rather than a radar-based one, it may not accurately follow the lane in places, whether the lane is blurry at night or in backlit conditions. Therefore, the driver must constantly monitor whether the semi-autonomous driving function is following the lane accurately while holding the steering wheel. So, in driving environments where continuous monitoring is required, drivers may choose to only use adaptive cruise control support while they themselves drive. In the end, both functions are used by switching between them depending on the road and traffic conditions. Therefore, to change the settings, you currently have to go into the center monitor setting on Android, which can be inconvenient especially when driving. So, what would be a good role for the arrow buttons? Some suggest that they could be used to adjust the intensity of the regenerative braking, but this is only applicable to electric cars. For regular mild hybrid vehicles, I have thought long and hard about what would be the most appropriate function to assign to these buttons, but I haven't come up with any particularly useful ideas. That's why I think it would be better to use adaptive or semi-autonomous mode like in the case of sensors. Unfortunately, the following disappointing candidates for the top 5. The removal of the drive mode switch. The design is stylish and multifunctional, but the cushioning on the seats can be uncomfortable and push against the thighs. Inconvenient and occasionally malfunctions sunroof control panel. In my personal opinion, the best sitting comfort from past to the present goes in the order. In In the next episode, I hope to be able to quickly discover and rank various advantages that Volvo considers to be great.